After that, you have to initialize the calendar, which will get the instance. If you notice, we have an object of the calendar set up from the calendar class. These are the library we actually called, and we'll be implementing a lot of bunch of things there. Now the mCalendar object, we could get the hour of the day, pass that to mHour. The same thing, we get the minute, you get the year, you get the month, and the day. So we'll have a complete date and time. Now for the date, we're going to concatenate some stuff here. The day with a forward slash followed by the month with another forward slash and the year. So that's actually going to construct the day, month, and year, just like we are used to the date and time. And now for the time, the hour, we concatenate by colon followed by the minute. So we've been able to construct the date and time to what we are always used to. Now we're going to set up the reminder title edit text by adding the text change listener to that, where you're going to override the before text change and the on text changed. This is where you're actually going to convert to string and you trim up based on the character sequence you're getting from the text change. You pass that to the title, the m title. So you have that set up. Now you're going to set up the text views that is going to be using the reminder values, which is the date text. You set the text based on the m date. We now have the value for the m date. We have for the m time, you set that to the m time text. These are string values that we actually created here. M text, I'm going to look at over here, a text view rather. We have that set up. The repeat number text, that's how many times are you repeating the alarm. The repeat type is in hour or minutes, and the repeat text itself, whereby you set the text to, we are now constructing the kind of text we're expecting for the repeat text. Every number, that's every one, type, hours, seconds, minutes. So it's going to be like every 2 hours or every 2 minutes. You understand what that's actually going to look like. So you set the text to that. To save the state on device rotation, if the save instance state is not equals to null, now we're going to get the string key, set the text to the saved title, which is the key we are getting from the key title, and now you pass that to the m title. The same thing you're going to do for the time text, for the date text, the repeat number, and the repeat type. Also for the m active, is there an alarm set up for this reminder or not? That's what the active is. Now you set up the active buttons. Now I told you that is actually going to be true or false based on the bell icon we set up right there in the layout. Now if the m active is equals to false, that's the boolean false, the visibility of the FAB1, which we set up somewhere up there over here, the floating action button 1, and if you should notice in there, I'll quickly show you again so that we'll understand what we are still doing. Over here we have 2 action buttons, 2 floating action buttons. Over here there's the first one and there's the second one. So that's what we are actually pointing at. Back to the reminder activity. So we are now testing if is equals to false, the FAB1 visibility will be visible. If and we'll actually set the visibility of the FAB2 to be gone. Now if it's true, the reverse will be the case. You set the visibility for FAB1 to be gone, while for the 2 to be visible. Now we have a toolbar where we set the title, normally to add reminder. We set display as up enabled, so we can go back to the main activity and set that to true. So we have that set up, and in this unsafe instance state, where we're going to save those data to the string, now we need to call them back right there on the unsafe instance state, which you've overridden, and you pass that the key title, the time, date. Now you pass that right there to the appropriate fields. Again, in rotation. So I think you should understand this. You actually saved it right there in the onCreate method, and once it rotates, you have it saved, and you have it set back to their fields. Now on clicking the time picker, because there's going to be a time picker to actually make you select the particular time. This we call on the calendar to get the instance, and now the dialog will be triggered here. Create an object of the dialog where you get the hour of the day and the minute. You also set the theme dark to be false, and you show the fragment of the time picker. Of the date picker, you have it set up this way as well, just like the time, because you're actually using the same library. Now you have to obtain the time from the time picker, where we trigger on time selected, where we have a radial picker layout to actually select the time. That's the view, and you select the hour of the day and the minute, which you have it set up over here, and you pass that to a string, hour and minute. Now let's test. If the minute is less than 10, you give the time as hour of the day with a semicolon, with a colon rather, plus 0 plus minute. That's going to be the time. Else, hour of the day with a colon, no 0 integer with a minute. Now we have the mTime text, which is for the text for the time. We set the text based on this if argument, and set that to the text of the time text. So on time text, we're going to have the hour extracted, the minute extracted, and the time text as well extracted. Now on date, from date picker, this is for the date. We have the date picker dialog as the view. Now we have the integer of the year, the month of the year, and the day of the month. So you iterate the month of the year by 1. Now you pass that to the string values we've created. The day of the month, pass that to day. The month of the year, pass that to month. The year, pass that to year. The same thing goes for the date. Now it's going to be a string we're going to add up together. The day of the month by the / by the month of the year, and so on. I think we understand that. We have for the active button and for the inactive button, the FAB1 and 2. I think we've talked about that earlier. So we understand what that is actually going to do. That's where we'll be able to tie it to its ID, the state 1 and the state 2 from the reminder editor. On switch repeat, that's for the switch toggle. We have a boolean, because it's either true or false. Do you want let's get to look at what the toggle is. This repeat, can you see that with the accent color of pink? Do you want a repeat or not? That's the toggle we are pointing at here. So if it's on, the repeat is true, and you'll be able to set a text to the repeat text that every repeat number, because you would have had a number with the repeat type is in hours, minutes, or seconds. Else, if it's false, there will be no repeat text. So that's just what that is. There are little chunks that you really need to understand how it flows. On clicking of the repeat type, what type of repeat are you looking at? We all have these methods triggered. Once you click on them right there from the activity add reminder, the date, the time, repeat. Now we're talking about the repeat type now. The first repeat type, minutes, hour, day, week, and month, all in an array of the items. You add them up to the string array of 5 length. Now let's create the list dialog. Well, we have the builder. You set the title. Now select the type and set the items where you have the onClick method right there inside the dialog interface. And now you have the repeat item, the repeat type data as the items array. Now you set the text based on what you've actually selected, and that will go down to the repeat type text. And the repeat text now could have it constructed this way: every repeat number, every 1 hour, minute, and so on. That's when you'll be repeating. Now let's set the repeat number. This actually uses the dialog as well, and you have enter number, and there is an edit text to make you edit the number. Basically, it's numbers, not alphabets. And you have the dialog set up, and you could extract the values here, where you pass the integer. You convert the string to an integer, and you pass that to the repeat number. So you could have the repeat number text, and now you can construct the repeat text from those values. So I think we should understand that. We have the onCreate options menu right there at the toolbar. This when we get to inflate the menu add reminder. We didn't talk about this menu add reminder. Right there in the menu. Menu add reminder gives us 2 rooms: the discard reminder and the save reminder. Can you see that right there? When you're deleting and when you're saving. So that's the 2 menu we'll be looking at. Now on the unprepare options menu, where you call on the super unprepare options menu. So if this is a new reminder, you need to hide the delete menu item. It's not going to it's not going to augur well if you're actually having a new menu or a new reminder and you have the delete icon displayed visibly. So it's going to hide that. That is if you can only test that when the current reminder URI is not is either null. So if it's null, it sets the visibility to be false. Now on options item selected, that's if you select any of those menu items. The first is the save reminder. So you get the length of the title text. It must be, you must have a title text to actually save to the database. So we actually set a kind of validation to that to get the text to string. The length, we'll get the length. If the length is equals to 0, definitely you actually didn't input anything into the title. So the set error will be triggered on that particular edit text. So if you've satisfied, or if you've gotten through that, you can now save to the reminder and you finish up. So you have access to go back to this particular display. And if it's for the discard reminder, it's going to show a delete confirmation dialog where the delete will be taking place, so that you won't just delete immediately, because sometimes mistakenly you might strike on the delete button or the delete menu. So there should still be a kind of dialog to actually notify you Are you deleting or not? Probably it was made in error. You quickly cancel, but if not, you go ahead to delete. And if you are calling the home, probably you're going back and you've not actually finished saving what you're doing. There's still going to be a dialog. It's telling you that this is going to be discarded so that you won't have to refill over again. So these are all good for user experience. Now the show saved on save dialog. This is actually going to be triggered once you're going back. It tells you, set the message, discard your changes or you quit editing. So you either pick on two things, either discard or keep editing. Once you discard, it goes back to the main activity. But once you keep editing, you can still continue editing. That's if you actually click on the up and button mistakenly. And for the show delete confirmation, once you click on the delete menu, you have two messages displayed. Are you deleting, or you cancel that, oh, this is done in error, I don't need to delete. So it's actually going to handle that. Now if you're deleting, we have the get content resolver, but still we need to detect if the current reminder URI is not equals to null. Now we trigger the delete so that our application won't be crashing based on the current reminder URI. Now you can trigger that delete and it's going to be deleted from the SQLite database. Now if you're saving this reminder, you will be needing the content values with their columns, and now you have a value, because we've been able to set different values in different chunk of methods that we've been talking earlier. So you can have that set up here. So you're going to actually have those values and they won't be null because we set them up right there in the course of the journey, and the repeat type and active. These are all going to be put into the SQLite database. Now you set up the calendar for creating the notification. This for the month, you have the month value, the year, the day, hour, and minutes. At the time we're adding one, now we are decreasing, so it's actually going to be the same. So this is actually going to help for setting up the year, the month correctly. We have for the selected timestamp. Now we're converting the calendar object, which is for all this, which is for the month, year, day, hour, minutes, seconds, to milliseconds. So that's why we do that. We get time in milliseconds. So it's actually going to be a long value over here. So let's check for the repeat type. Is it minute? Is it an hour, day, week, month? And we pass that. We pass the int. We convert that to integer and pass to the repeat type. Now this is where we're going to know if the current reminder URI is equals to null. Definitely this is a new entry. You have that set up. You insert into the current URI with values. Now if the current reminder URI is not null, definitely this data has been saved into the SQLite database before. You trigger the update. You want to update this particular data. You are not saving it over again. So you can see where we've been able to separate things. Logically, we've been able to achieve the CRUD implementation flawlessly. So you have that set up. And now we'll be calling the alarm scheduler. If the repeat equals to true, you set repeat alarm and you pass in those parameters. The selected timestamp, the current reminder URI, which will still identify that particular record. So you can still extract data from that particular record if you want to use notification in the alarm service. And the repeat sign. Now if it's false, if the repeat is equals to false, so you're not repeating, you're going to set an alarm, an exact alarm based on the selected timestamp and the current reminder URI. That's cool. We'll get to talk about the alarm scheduler later on. On backpressed, you want it to mimic the backpressed we actually used. Now we have a loader. This loader will assist us if we are actually dealing with an edit, or if you are editing a particular reminder data. Based on the mcurrent reminder URI, we could be able to identify that particular reminder data, and we could extract that from the SQLite database using the content provider. This will be run at the background without blocking any UI. So we have the projection here, and on load finish now, we are not setting that to any adapter. We're actually going to iterate through this cursor and extract the values based on the column index as first. Get the column index, and now you extract the value from the cursor for the given column index. Can you see that we pass that into different variables? After that, we now update the views on the screen with the values from the database. The text, the date text, the time text, repeat number text, repeat type text, and even the repeat text. Look at the way we set up active buttons for the repeat switch. If the repeat equals to false, you set the check to be false. No need of text. Now if the repeat is true, you set the check to be true. On loader reset, you might not need to do anything. So we'll be able to cover the lot right there in the reminder activity for two different states: a new reminder or updating a particular reminder. From here, we'll be looking at, let's look at the cursor adapter, where we get to bind data before we get to look at the reminders package, which is actually going to deal with the alarm manager. This is where we actually call the alarm cursor adapter, and we inflate the list, the items, the alarm items, and we get to bind values. Look at there, we initialize the fields we needed. Call on the column index, just like the way we did right there in the onload finish, and you pass the appropriate values to variable, and now you set that to the fields. You set it to this particular text view we've actually initialized. You see that? Set reminder title and so on. So this is where we're able to set the reminder title. Now if you notice, we actually extracted the first alphabet, set the text right there. Later, this is where you get the substring, the first alphabet called letter. Okay, you see that right there. And you create a circular icon consisting of a random background color and first letter of title. So that it's actually going to be a random color. And you set that to the image drawable. We'll have that set up. This is where we're able to set the reminder date time, set the reminder repeat info, and you set the active image. To know if it's true, you pick a different icon. That's an icon, an active icon. While if it's false, you pick a grayish icon. Can you see that with even the word gray? So this is how we've been able to achieve the logic of the main activity. Let's head straight down to the reminder package, where you will be learning the alarm manager, provider, and the scheduler with the alarm service. Firstly, we'll look at the alarm scheduler. Cool. This is a class whereby you schedule a reminder alarm at a specified time for the given task. So you will actually use URI match as well, and URI. Now we have the set alarm and the set repeat alarm. These are two methods we called from the add reminder activity. In the set alarm, we're expecting three parameters: the context that's calling this method, the alarm time in long, that's where we've been able to convert all that to milliseconds, and the URI to identify the particular reminder. You trigger the alarm manager. Now we call the alarm manager provider, which we have right there over here. Let's get to look at that. Out of the box, you have the alarm manager provider, which actually injects the alarm manager, and is a static synchronized alarm manager that gets the alarm manager. This actually calling the context where you get the system service, the alarm service, and you need to register this service right there in the manifest. We'll get to look at the manifest to wrap up this application. Continuing with the scheduler. Now we need a pending intent, which will actually get the reminder pending intent from the alarm service. Well, we pass the context and the reminder tags as the two parameters into an object of the pending intent. Now for different Android SDK or different APIs, if the build version is greater than or equals to 23 and above, you can set exact and allow while idle. So even if the device is idle, trigger the alarm. That's what that means, because in Lollipop and above, you now have a sleep mode for your device. This triggers the RTC wake up, the alarm time, which is the milliseconds you've passed in, and the pending intent, which is the operation. Now, if this is greater or 19 and lesser, you use set exact, pass the RTC wake up as well, the alarm time and its operation. Else, you can use the set method to trigger the alarm. You actually trigger the alarm at the specific time. That's what that is doing. Now for the repeat, when you are trying to repeat the alarm call. Now the parameters need the context that is calling this, the alarm time in milliseconds, the URI to identify the particular reminder, and the repeat time that you want the alarm to be repeated. We also have the operation object, which is from the pending intent. Now this is what you'll be using to set repeating. You pass the RTC wake up time, the alarm time in long, which is converted to milliseconds, the repeat time, and the pending intent object as the parameters. You can decide to cancel alarm as well if you want to cancel alarm, if you will be using a method to cancel the alarm. This is where you actually cancel the pending intent operation or the pending intent call, because once you cancel the pending intent, the alarm is cancelled. So we'll be looking at the alarm service. The alarm service is going to consume the intent, the pending intent, and is actually going to do something at the trigger of the alarm. So the alarm will just trigger and just look dormant. You might trigger the alarm, set a notification. On click of the notification, during the process you can still even get data from the content provider. Save that right there to the notification, and you can even push to a particular activity. So this is what we'll be doing here. We'll be using the pending intent. Now this is a deep link intent and needs the tags stack, where you get the reminder pending intent, because we've actually extended intent service. Now the action of the intent based on the reminder alarm service that calls it. You set the data, which is still the URI. We're using the URI, the resource identifier of that particular intent. Get the service, which you flag the update current. Now we're going to undo the intent. Let's undo it. Let's see the way you're going to undo it. You call on the notification manager, get the system service notification service, and get the data of the intent. Now you're going to display a notification to view the task details. This is where we're going to actually trigger the reminder activity class. And for you to trigger the reminder activity class, you need to pass in a URI so that we'll be able to identify that particular reminder. and it's actually going to set it, the loader will run based on the URI you passed, and you set the value. So you may be able to even edit that particular alarm. Oh, let me extend this alarm to more hours, or let me extend it to another day, or let me delete this particular alarm since I've actually finished using it. Let me delete. So pushing to the reminder activity is going to be the best, and you need to pass with the URI because this is not a fresh reminder. It has a resource identifier, and that's just it. Where we set the data to the URI. This is actually going to be like put extras, but once you are doing this from a pending intent, you use set data, and you have that. And there's a task stack builder to actually build on this and add the next intent with the parent stack. Now you grab the task description from the get content resolver, which queries the query method, and passing the URI as a parameter. You have that set up. Now let's get to look at the notification builder, the way we're going to have the notification. You have the set content title, alarm reminder. If you like, you can set vibration, you can set music to your notification. Set the content type based on the description we add. So this description we only get the column string, which is the title, which you have here, the key title. That's going to be the title of the notification. So you will be able to know which alarm triggers. So if it's like, I need to go for skydiving, you have it. Oh, I need to have my meal, you have it. Oh, I need to read my books. That's the title of your reminder. You set the small icon. That's an icon. You can decide to set different things if you like. Set auto cancel to true. You can automatically cancel it, and you build up this notification, and you have that set up. So you can see the way you use the alarm manager, and you've been able to set up a periodic interval or a periodic repeat or an exact time of reminder, and at the same time a notification pops up, and you could also click on that notification, which pushes you to the reminder, add reminder activity. Probably you need to delete that reminder, or you want to update the reminder for a future date again. So this is just the basic way to handle reminders and to handle alarm manager, where you set exact, inexact, repeating alarms, and you use the pending intent to further extend more on the notification you got from the alarms. I'll be heading straight to the manifest, and I want you to look at the way we actually add up some services. You'll be needing the internet. Will you be needing internet? Not really. Might not need that, but you will need the receive boot completed, and very important. So even if you reboot your device, the alarm setup will still be right intact. That's what that means. Now you need to add the reminder activity, which we used. You need to add your provider, and you need to add the reminder alarm service. Very important as well. Once you add those metadata into the manifest, you have the setup. You can test your application for the first time. And I'm actually going to be using a screencast to actually make you see what this is going to do. And I will implore you to get your hands on the source code, which I'll be uploading to my GitHub, and get to understand how the alarm manager works, which can be used to set future process, or used to set for future activity. You can use the alarm manager, you can use the Firebase job scheduler, you can even use the job scheduler as well to set up background process for future use. And this all out of the box from the Android library. Thank you guys for hanging out with me throughout this tutorial, and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Have a lovely time. Bye bye for now.